News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Monica Ricks. Millions of people are now preparing for one of the biggest winter storms in years. Bloomberg meteorologist Craig Allen is tracking conditions.
Snow will begin tonight in D.C. and Baltimore and move on up past Philadelphia, Newark, New York City, Bridgeport, Providence, reaching Boston during Sunday afternoon. And all travel will become very challenging and hazardous. Thousands of flight cancellations, too. The general consensus is 6 to 12 inches for the majority of the area. Some places may reach upwards of 18 inches, but a switch to sleet and freezing rain would lower those totals, especially south and east of 95 near the coast.
Meteorologist Craig Allen. Stephanie Fox is with the Red Cross, and she's urging people to stock up on supplies while they can.
The window for folks to prepare is closing rapidly.
At least 18 states have declared states of emergency. President Trump says he's sending more U.S. military to the Middle East as anti-government protests continue in Iran. More on that from Bloomberg's Ed Kalegi.
President Trump has dispatched naval assets, prompting fresh speculation that he'll follow through on threats to attack Iran's senior leadership amid a violent crackdown on nationwide protests. The USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier and its associated strike group passed through the Strait of Malacca between Malaysia and Indonesia earlier this week and are now in the Indian Ocean. This according to two U.S. officials who declined to specify their precise destination. Ed Kalegi, Bloomberg Radio.
The FAA is renewing restrictions on flights in the Washington area after a midair crash between a U.S. Army helicopter and a passenger jet last year that killed 67 people. Bloomberg's Amy Morris has details.
The restrictions would ban all but essential flights by helicopters and powered lift operating in the vertical lift flight mode in airspace over the Potomac River near Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport. The move comes amid a fight about how far to restrict military aircraft in response to the crash. Pending legislation called the Rotor Act would mandate military aircraft use safety technology, but that proposal was not included in the measure approved by the House this past week. In Washington, Amy Morris, Bloomberg Radio.
Our streets! Our streets!
Tens of thousands of people hit the streets in a huge march against ongoing immigration enforcement in Minneapolis yesterday, as federal immigration officials say more than 100 people were detained in Maine this week, targeting what ICE calls the worst of the worst. But court records show cases span a wide range of legal circumstances, from violent felony convictions to dismissed charges and unresolved immigration proceedings. The Associated Press reports ICE hasn't released many details, and attorneys say that makes it difficult to know who's being detained and why. BlackRock CEO Rick Rieder's experience on Wall Street and his ideas for overhauling the Federal Reserve could make him President Trump's top pick to land the central bank's top job. People familiar with White House deliberations tell Bloomberg he grabbed President Trump's attention after his interview last week. We're told an announcement could come as soon as next week. Meantime, economists now expect we'll have to wait till June before the Fed cuts interest rates. Here's Bloomberg's Karen Moskow.
Just last month, economists had forecast the first rate cut of the year to come in March. But with inflationary pressures lingering and signs of stabilization in the labor market, the latest Bloomberg monthly survey shows the timeline has moved further out. After lowering borrowing costs 3 straight times to close out 2025, Fed officials are widely expected to hold rates steady at their meeting next week. And economists in our survey predict the second and final reduction of this year will come in September, unchanged from last month's survey. Karen Moskow, Bloomberg Radio.
And in case you missed it, Adam Presser has now been tapped to lead TikTok's new U.S. venture. He'll be responsible for protecting U.S. data, moderating content, and driving business growth for TikTok. Its Chinese owner ByteDance closed a deal this week to sell parts of its U.S. operations to a group of investors for $14 billion. And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Monica Ricks, and this is Bloomberg.